Chapter 38 of the Book of Snobs. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Caroline Shapiro. The Book of Snobs by William Makepeace Thackeray. Chapter 38. Club Snobs. Such a sensation has been created in the clubs by the appearance of the last paper on Club Snobs as can't but be complimentary to me who am one of their number. I belong to many clubs: the Union Jack, the Sash and Marlinspike, military clubs; the True Blue, the No Surrender, the Blue and Buff, the Guy Fawkes, and the Cato Street, political clubs; the Brummel and the Regent, dandy clubs; the Acropolis, the Palladium, the Areopagus, the Nix, the Pentelicus, the Ilyssus, and the Polyploisbeothalasus, literary clubs. I never could make out how the latter set of clubs got their names. I don't know Greek, for one, and I wonder how many other members of those institutions do. Ever since the Club Snobs have been announced, I observe a sensation created on my entrance into any one of these places. Members get up and hustle together. They nod, they scowl, as they glance towards the present snob. "Infernal impudent jackanapes! If he shows me up," says Colonel Bludyer, "I'll break every bone in his skin." "I told you what would come of admitting literary men into the club," says Ranville Ramville to his colleague Spooney, of the tape and sealing-wax office. These people are very well in their proper places, and as a public man I make a point of shaking hands with them, and that sort of thing. But to have one's privacy obtruded upon by such people is really too much. Come along, Spooney, and the pair of prigs retire superciliously. As I came into the coffee-room at the No Surrender, old Jawkins was holding out to a knot of men, who were yawning as usual. There he stood, waving the standard, and swaggering before the fire. "What," says he, "did I tell Peel last year? If you touch the corn laws, you touch the sugar question. If you touch the sugar, you touch the tea. I am no monopolist. I am a liberal man, but I cannot forget that I stand on the brink of a precipice. And if we're to have free trade, give me reciprocity." And what was Sir Robert Peel's answer to me? "Mr. Jawkins," he said. Here Jawkins' eye suddenly turning on your humble servant, he stopped his sentence with a guilty look. His stale old stupid sentence, which every one of us at the club has heard over and over again. Jawkins is a most pertinacious club snob. Every day he is at that fireplace, holding that standard, of which he reads up the leading article, and pours it out oro rotundo, with the most astonishing composure, in the face of his neighbor, who has just read every word of it in the paper. Jawkins has money, as you may see by the tie of his neckcloth. He passes the morning swaggering about the city, in bankers' and brokers' parlors, and says, "I spoke with Peel yesterday, and his intentions are so-and-so. Graham and I were talking over the matter, and I pledge you my word of honor his opinion coincides with mine, and that what-do-you-call-him is the only measure government will venture on trying." By evening paper time he is at the club. "I can tell you the opinion of the city, my lord," says he, "and the way in which Jones Lloyd looks at it is briefly this. Rothschilds told me so themselves. In Mark Lane people's minds are quite made up." He is considered rather a well-informed man. He lives in Belgravia, of course, in a drab-colored genteel house, and has everything about him that is properly grave, dismal, and comfortable. His dinners are in the Morning Herald, among the parties for the week, and his wife and daughters make a very handsome appearance at the drawing-room once a year, when he comes down to the club in his deputy lieutenant's uniform. He is fond of beginning a speech to you by saying, "When I was in the House, I," etc. In fact, he sat for Skittlebury for 3 weeks in the first Reform Parliament, and was unseated for bribery, since which he has 3 times unsuccessfully contested that honorable borough. Another sort of political snob I have seen at most clubs, and that is the man who does not care so much for home politics, but is great upon foreign affairs. I think this sort of man is scarcely found anywhere but in clubs. It is for him the papers provide their foreign articles at the expense of some 10,000 a year each. He is the man who is really seriously uncomfortable about the designs of Russia, and the atrocious treachery of Louis Philippe. He it is who expects a French fleet in the Thames, and has a constant eye upon the American president, every word of whose speech, goodness help him, he reads. He knows the names of the contending leaders in Portugal, and what they are fighting about, and it is he who says that Lord Aberdeen ought to be impeached, and Lord Palmerston hanged, or vice versa. Lord Palmerston's being sold to Russia, the exact number of roubles paid, by what house in the city, is a favourite theme with this kind of snob. I once overheard him, it was Captain Spitfire, Royal Navy, who had been refused a ship by the Whigs, by the way, indulging in the following conversation with Mr. Minns after dinner. "Why wasn't the Princess Scragamoffsky at Lady Palmerston's party, Minns?" "Because she can't show." "Why can't she show? Shall I tell you, Minns, why she can't show? The Princess Scragamoffsky's back is flayed alive, Minns. I tell you it's raw, sir. On Tuesday last at 12 o'clock 3 drummers of the Preobrajinsky regiment arrived at Ashburnham House, and at 12:30 in the yellow drawing-room at the Russian embassy, before the ambassadress and 4 ladies' maids, the Greek papa, and the secretary of embassy, Madame de Scragamoffsky, received 13 dozen. She was knouted, sir, knouted in the midst of England, in Berkeley Square, for having said that the Grand Duchess Olga's hair was red. And now, sir, will you tell me Lord Palmerston ought to continue minister?" Minns: "Good God!" Minns follows Spitfire about, and thinks him the greatest and wisest of human beings. End of Chapter 38. Recording by Caroline Shapiro, Oakland, California, USA.